Today at Oneness Lore, we are looking at two of the most common ways we see business operators choose to expand their business in Queensland. One of them is bringing in more investors, and the other one is often gaining additional locations and premises for the business. Each come with their own legal considerations around control, structure, and risk. We're going to go through some of the aspects of each of them. So the first one, you are bringing in investors into your business and you're getting capital. So you're sharing ownership and also decision making. In Queensland, often for companies, we would see this done through a shareholders agreement. And you want to be looking at things like control versus capital, and also thinking about exit strategies of that as well. Now, if you're looking at obtaining additional locations for your business and expanding in that way, then there's two other main variations of that. One of them is through leasing premises, and each new lease carries its own separate legal risk. And so don't assume that all the leases are going to be the same. So you want to consider things like, can you get some consistency with your leases? Look at things like personal guarantees, fit outs, and make good obligations, and things like assignments and subletting rights as well. And the other way in obtaining more locations is also purchasing freehold. For that, they're slightly different than the leases. You're having to consider things like potential transfer duty implications, zoning and permitted use, long-term asset strategy. And again, we want to remind you should be having the conversations around taxation with your accountant and also your financial planner as well. Now, some real common approaches that we see in Queensland include things like having a head company, then with separate entities for each location, and using different entities to isolate risk between different sites, and also holding property separately from the trading business as well. And why does that matter? Well, if one location underperforms or runs into some legal financial issues, you don't want it to affect your entire operation. That way you're sort of separating those potential liabilities to a certain degree away from all the other operations of the business. So first off, get your structure right. Changing it later can trigger additional transfer duty implications, and there can be tax consequences. Second, don't shortcut the documentation. Whichever avenue you choose to go down, ensure that the documentation is correct and it suits your needs and is also within the legal requirements. And third is planning for the exit, even if you haven't completed the start. Whether it's settling on a single site or entire business, like your legal setup should support the outcome that one day you and or the business will exit at some point from the premises as well. So again, which one of these do you choose? That's really going to depend a lot on your financial situation, your long-term planning, what's really important to you, and what are your capabilities and your capacity. Do you have a really good team behind you to support any of these three, I would almost call them? One being having more investors, two being obtaining more locations, and whether you do that through a lease, and the third one being through freehold. So sit down with your accountant, with your financial planner, and also have a chat with us as well. See how we can assist you with any of these options if you're a business here in Queensland looking to expand. Our website, www.onenessLore.com.au, and our email address, info@onennesslore.com.au, law being LORE. And we'll see you again soon.